Hi, this is Apex Online School Introduction video, and this is your introduction to starting Apex Online Credit Recovery. In these videos, we're going to show you how to access the program on your computer. You can also see this from home and work on this from home. You're going to begin the program by logging in. Once we log in, we're going to look at the dashboard. Also, we're going to look at how to view and use the windows once you get into the program, and also where you can go for help if you need it. The first thing, in order to access Apex Online School, you'll need to open up the Google Chrome web browser. You're going to need to use Google Chrome because, frankly, any of the other Microsoft products don't necessarily work well with or talk well with Apex Online. So once it's open, you're going to go to www.apexvs.com, and once you get there, you will have your login screen. You will be given the login screen here, and your instructor will give you a login. It's usually your 3x4 student login, and they will also give you a temporary password. You will type these two items in and then move on to the next set of instructions. In this particular case, we have a default Santa Fe login. And it's going to ask us to change your password. You will need to change it to something that only you will know and something that will be easy for you to remember. We suggest that you use the same password that you use to log into your school computer, so you really don't have to remember another password. So let's just say for this case, we'll do capital WOLVES 2018, capital WOLVES 2018, and then submit. Typically, you have a set of security questions that you will go through for password recovery on the off chance that you forget your password. This is helpful if you're working from home and cannot remember your password. But after answering the set of security questions correctly, Apex will email you a new temporary password, and you will have to recreate a new one if you ever forget. Now we're going to take a look at our dashboard and the different elements that are here in the dashboard. You'll see, first of all, you have your menu up at the top where you can look at your dashboard, your calendar, or your messages. You'll also notice that you have one enrollment active. You can also see that the course name is the one that you are enrolled in. If you hover over it, you can see that Mr. Morton is your teacher, and also the classroom name, the ID, and the classroom name itself. Over here on the far right hand side, you're going to see announcements. There evidently is maintenance scheduled for the 11th, which will usually mean that the system is down and you won't be able to access that. You're going to also see you can add messages over here on the right, where you can view messages. It's just like an email box where you can email or the messages you receive. You can send and also include deleted messages. Go back to my dashboard. You can also see a calendar view. And in this calendar, you'll see when all the different dates for your course will be. Right now, I have not set up any due dates, but we'll set that up here in just a little bit on the administrator end so that you can see more about that. So once you get into your dashboard, you can see you'll have the course name. You'll also see a grade to date, which includes all the completed work that you've done, and also includes any work that you haven't done that is also due. So if you have not finished an assignment and it's overdue, you get a 0 put in. So it's important to stay up to date on that. There will also be a progress bar that shows you progress from 0 to 100% that you are in your course. And as long as that stays green, you're okay. If it's yellow, that means you're kind of in trouble a little bit and that you need to pick it up. Red means you better really pick it up and you're very much behind. You'll also see an overdue activities section that tells you how many activities are not done that should be due. Now that you're familiar with what is on the dashboard, next let's take a look at what the actual course looks like when you get started with it. The first thing that you're going to do is click on the course, and it will immediately give you another pop-up introduction to this course menu. Over here on the left side is the lesson progression. There will be the first thing that you will see is that you're on Unit 1. This main window over here on the right gives you the information for the course. Over here on the far right margin, there will usually be some kind of icon that shows you either key terms or assignments that you are supposed to perform and do and turn in. In this particular case, we're going to have to scroll down because there's more. You'll notice that as you are reading through, this gives you a synopsis of what you're going to be learning in this particular unit. If you want it read to you, you can just use this little button right here, click on it, and it will read all this information to you. The objectives tell you what you need to learn and what you are going to be responsible for this particular unit. So if you want those read to you, you can click on that and click on that. Over here on the far right, when you get into the introduction, at the very beginning, you can watch a short video which goes through and talks about what you're going to be learning. Sometimes there are sample things that they will tell you about and that you need to know. Sometimes it will be short, sometimes it will be long. Over here on the right, again, shows you the transcript of the video. So if you want to follow along while the video is going on, you can do that as well. Once you've finished the introduction to the unit, you're going to start by, now you're on Unit 1.1, the introduction, search for rules and patterns. So when you click on that, now you're given the section that you're going to be learning about in Lesson 1.1. Again, over here on the right, you have another icon here. Click for key terms, and this shows you conjecture. There are definitions that you might need to know. Induction and symmetry. You can also make the window bigger if you need to. Those would come in handy if you have to go back and look for definitions in your notes. So now that we've read the introduction, we're going to come to the first 1.1.1, which is the subsection 1. And notice how in the title it says study. So when we click on that, you'll notice that there is a study guide or your study sheet. When you click on this, it gives you your notes that you are going to need to use for this particular lesson. As you scroll through it, these are the things that you're going to be responsible for and need to write down as you're going through the lesson. In this class, you're going to need to print out your study guide. It'll come out on the printer, and as you're going through each slide, you're going to need to fill in the blanks or do the problems. So once you can use these study guides on your quizzes and on your tests. There's also a practice session here, but we're not going to do that right now. You will also have some short videos that you can watch as well just by clicking play. So in this study guide, once you read, you're going to notice induction is highlighted. You can fill that out, write those definitions out on another sheet of paper, or they may be in your study guide. Notice down here in the bottom right hand corner, this is page 1 of 22. The other slides didn't have anything like this before because there was just a single slide. But because this is 1 of 22, there are going to be more. So once you read through the lesson and the material, you'll click on the next arrow to get to the next slide. Notice here you also have another for transcript. When you get to the very end, you're going to have a study sheet check. And in this study sheet check, you also have another copy of your study sheet. There are also some other videos, instructions that you can use to go through this lesson. Once you get to the very end, Now you go back over to the left margin, and now you have a checkup practice. Once you click on that, you click on your assignment, print that out, solve it, and turn it in for a grade. Sometimes the checkup problems aren't graded, sometimes they are. Which gets us to the next thing. Notice how over in the left side, there are some courses with boxes, or some assignments with boxes and some without. The ones with the short, small orange box are grades that are taken in Apex or by your instructor. These are the ones that are going to count. And we'll talk about quizzes here in just a moment. Okay, so when taking a quiz in Apex, it's going to be important that you use your notes and your study guide and that you have read the information inside of the unit and the unit lessons. Typically, your quizzes are worth 20 points and usually have about 10 questions, and you only get one attempt at each question. So once you click on the quiz over here on the left, read the introduction screen, you'll use the arrow to click on the first question. The first question is given, and which of the following is most likely the next step in the series. So based on what you read, let's say for example we were going to choose just B. Once you select your answer, click submit, and it doesn't tell you what you got right. Multiple choice, please select the best answer and click submit. So if we were going to do this one, probably the next one in the series would be 76G, and submit. We're just going to click random selections here. Sometimes you got to go back into your notes, but I'm not going to take the time to do that. When you're done, you will get a final score. I didn't do too good on this one. I only got 30%, which was basically 2 questions were right. So the way that we do these quizzes are if you get a 70% or better, you can move on to the next lesson. If you didn't, then you have one chance to retake the quiz, but you have to show your instructor a completed study guide in order to retake the quiz. Once you finish your quiz, if you have retaken it, your instructor will take the best score of the 2 scores. Let's say, for example, 30% was as best as you could do, which isn't what we want, but it's what we're going to take this time. You'll need to ask your instructor to move you on, in which case they have to go into their administrative site and pass you on and move you to the next section. Usually if your screen is at this point, if you press the F5 key on your keyboard, you'll notice that it will open up now the subsection 2 that you can start working on. Let's say the end of the hour has come and you're done and you're in the middle of a lesson. You can close out your lesson and continue on where you left off when you come back in tomorrow, or if you were going to work on this the next day. We will now take a look at the dashboard once you've completed one of the assignments. You'll notice now that the grade to date is at 30%, because that's what we got on the quiz, and at the progress there's just a little shade of green. We are on schedule, so there are no overdue activities. But if we want to see what we've got and what we've done through the course, you can come up here to Actions, View Progress Report. Here it shows you a little bit about what your quality of work is, midterm grade, final grade. On schedule indicator, green means you're in good shape, yellow means you're a little behind, red means you got to get your tail in gear. About the report, these items tell you what each of these headings mean. Really, with what we're doing with our grading system at Eben Public Schools, the quality of work, the grade to date don't aren't applicable to us because we have a different 80-20% grading scale system that Apex doesn't have. We'll talk more about that later. But if you want to see what all of your assignments are, what grades you're going to be given, you can click on this view right here under activity scores and due dates. This brings you up a whole nother report. Tells you what the date that you completed the lesson, what your score was, out of how many percent, and out of how many points possible. You can see that there are several grades taken in Unit 1. You can also see that there are grades for Unit 2, 3, 4, and 8. It's because we have tailored this schedule in this curriculum to match what Edmond Public School does in their current school year. It may or may not be what Apex provides, so we have tailored those. You can also see what grades were completed. There going to be some status for some assignments that may be excused. Those will be done by your instructor. You'll also notice that there is a CST and a TST. For our course, we will only take the computer scored test, not the teacher scored test. This is the easiest way to see what your actual grade is, and then your instructor will take these grades and put them into Infinite Campus as a whole. If you have more questions about that, ask your instructor on that.